In this video we are going to look at calculations with moles. When we talk about moles in chemistry, we are not talking about the little furry animals that live underground, but about a way to measure the number of particles in a substance. And those particles can be either atoms, ions, or molecules. This is the formula triangle that we need to use when we do calculations with moles. We have the mass at the top, and then we have AI or MI times moles at the bottom. Now, AI is the relative atomic mass and MI is the relative formula mass. And you will have to decide which one to use depending on what you are given in the question. If you are given atoms, you use the relative atomic mass, and if you are given ions or molecules, you will have to use the relative formula mass. We also need to note that the unit for moles is mol, and this is just read mole. So let us look at an example. Calculate the mass for 2 mole of nitrogen molecules N2. So now what we need to calculate is the mass, and we need to look at the triangle to find out how we can do this. So mass equals, if we cover up the bit with the mass at the top, we are left with AI or MI times moles. We're given molecules here, so we need to use MR, the relative formula mass. So we get mass equals MI times moles. When we look back at the question, we can see that we are given 2 mole for moles in the question. So we can just plug that 2 straight in. Now what we need to do is we need to calculate the relative formula mass, MR. And we do this by looking at the nitrogen molecule. We can see we have 2 nitrogens, so we need to look at the periodic table and find the relative atomic mass or mass number for nitrogen, which is the top number on your periodic table. Because we have 2 nitrogen atoms, we get 2 times 14, and that gives us a relative formula mass of 28, and we can now plug this into our equation. So we get 28 times 2, and this gives us a mass of 56 grams.